Hello everyone. So I just finished my personal project Stiltsguard Fortress and want to share my process with you from start to finish. I'll try to include a bit of everything I did for this project, starting from how I came up with the story to doing some studies and sketches, these value comps, previz, blender, and all the way to the final paint over. I hope you find this useful. So yeah, let's get started. All right, before starting with the process and everything, I just want to say a few things about the things that you need to do before actually working on the project. And that's why I've named it Where It All Starts. It all starts with an idea and a story, right? Because without an idea and a story, it will probably be just an image about which I will talk in a bit. And when someone says, where to find an idea, I would say that anything can spark an idea, but if you want to work on that idea, then it should be something that interests you. An idea can be from an image that you saw on Pinterest, or any movies or existing IPs that you will give your own twist to it, a photograph that you took. And if you like an idea and want to develop it into a project or something more, I would say try to write a story, a very short story around it. And along with that, ask yourself the W's, the basic questions that give you a lot of direction. It could be just one-liners. In my case, what is the Stiltsguard Fortress, or who lives there, who built it, why did they build it, where is this place, when did it happen, and so on. So having this story gives you a very strong base and makes your design believable and grounded, and also keeps you focused and on track, because with so much of information after answering the W's, it's really hard to deviate from the track. All right, let's quickly talk about how my idea and story came into being. It all started with this old painting of mine that I did last year. And just to quickly show you the references, this was part of a challenge in one of the Discord groups. And when I was doing this painting at that time, I didn't really think of a broader story to support this painting. My main goal at that time was just to create a cool painting out of those references. And this is what I was telling you earlier. Without a story, an image is just a cool painting. I mean, there's nothing much to it. But when I was recently revisiting my old artwork and I saw this painting, I felt like this has the potential to be something more. And I started asking myself the questions like, who built this, or why is it there, who lives there, and basically all the W's that I talked about earlier. And with that information, I wrote a very simple story around it. My story was goal driven. And by that, what I mean is, with this story, my main goal was to make multiple keyframe art and tell a story with images. Simply put, my story is just about a journey undertaken by two friends from one place to another. And then I just sprinkle some salt and pepper on top of it and try to make this a bit more interesting. You can pause the screen and go through the entire story here. Alright, let's quickly talk about gathering references and studying them. It's commonly said that references should be limited in numbers, and I totally agree with that. But I like to do my references in stages. Let me just show you with an example. So this was my initial PureF when I started out this project, and you can see that I have a lot of images in each of this category. For stilt houses, I have this many images, and then I also have a separate images for medieval houses, a lot of images for dead trees on beach. So this is the stage at the starting of the project when I'm looking at every possibility of what the project could be. But then when I do a study of this references and jump into Photoshop and I have a better understanding of the subject matter, I do a filtration process and end up with my final references, which you can see on the screen. So this is my final reference board for the entire project, and you can see that it is a lot more consolidated with very less amount of images that are more appropriate for this project. And once I'm happy with this, I just move on to um, Photoshop and start studying my references. This is something that I do for every project because I feel like it's really important to study and sketch your references, because when you do study your references, you understand the subject better, you understand its construction better, which really helps you to make your design grounded in reality. It's Your design will always be logical because you have studied the subject from real life photos. And while I'm doing these sketches, I am trying to make sure that I follow the design principles. For example, I'm looking at spacing of these elements here, and by spacing I mean no shapes are placed at equidistant from each other, because that tends to get a bit boring. And along with that, I'm also looking at the rhythm on which the tall towers are being placed, so that it's more flowy and interesting in a rhythmic sort of a manner. So the upcoming audio is something that I recorded when I was sketching this part, which really shows how having a story can help build your world holistically and logically. So this is from a top view. So for example, this is landmass or the kingdom these guys are protecting, and we have a rocky terrain here, and this whole thing is the river, and all the monsters and eerie things are in this river, okay, and they go this way to the kingdom, and there's jungles here, and the kingdom is way inside, but we have rocks here, and all of these settlements are, let me take another color, all of these settlements are situated in this rocky riverbed, so they're not like, it's not continued, but it's cluster of settlements that are placed strategically in this area, so that if a monster comes from this side, both of these stars can attack or something like that. So I feel it's very important to come up with ideas like this in your designs while doing your designs, because it gives you a solid groundwork, it gives you a solid base. So and these houses, this cluster of houses are connected by bridges like this for people to go from one to another. And anyways, I mean, anyway it could be connected, we don't need to figure that out. Just for our sake, for the design sake, it's always good to have as much answers as possible. So it's all about immersing yourself into that world while doing your designs. Where's my other brush? Okay, so this is supported by pitched on in between the rocks. These are all rocks, and it's connected by bridges that sways like this, goes like this, whatever. Too much. Yes. And we have a, let's take a copy of this thing. So as you can see, I am not looking for perfect sketches at this point of time. Right now, these starting sketches are all about warming up and trying to get into that mindset where the ideas are all free flowing. Also, it's not about copying your references exactly, but also trying to come up with something new or modify the references a bit more, following some design principles, and with that trying to get some interesting silhouettes of the clusters without really going into details of how a particular uh, wood is placed or how a particular, you know, support is sticking to that edge of the house or things like that. All right, guys, this is where I end the first video, and by the time I finish my sketching phase, this is what I end up with. And you can see how I went from very loose beginning to somewhat detailed sketches. So yeah, that's it for the first video. Hope it was useful and informative to some of you. I would encourage you to try out this process in case it interests you, and if required you can also reach out to me for any queries or help. Links are in the description, and if you like what you see, you know what to do. So yeah, see you in the next one.